The year is 2011. Rolling in the Deep by Adele is playing in every store you walk into. LMFAO has become more than just something you text your friends. And suddenly, floating in the wind like a plastic bag has become the most relatable thing that you have ever heard. While all this is happening, while you're begging your parents to let you Kool-Aid dip dye your hair, 5 boys emerge from the mist, like the main characters of a young adult's novel. And something that I find particularly interesting is the impact that artists and bands have on the fashion industry. You wouldn't necessarily think that those two things go hand in hand, but from my research, they do. And what better place to start than with One Direction. In fact, you might recognize me from TikTok, as I did do a video on this subject there. But if you don't recognize me, hi, I'm Alexis. I make fashion-related content, vlogs, and other deep dive videos like this. Now, One Direction had clothing lines, collaborations, and directioners, which is a word that I have not said in literal years. Like, let's just take a moment for that. Directioners. Directioners. I really called myself that for 4 to 5 years. Like, that was my entire identity. Was being a One Direction fan and Harry Styles' future wife. Man, things have changed. Now, One Direction had many different clothing collaborations. They had one with a brand called One Piece, which no, is not related to the anime. And if my memory serves me correctly, which there's a chance that it doesn't, but if it does, it's an Australian-based company that creates pajamas, loungewear in the form of onesies. And One Direction created Onesie Direction. That wasn't the official name, at least I don't think it was. But if I was on the marketing team, unfortunately I probably would have pitched that.
To the untrained eye, this may look like a giant baby girl, but we think it's god cool.
Now, they had a few pieces with each individual member's handprint, as well as one with all the collective members' handprints. And believe me, 12-year-old me did beg my parents for this for Christmas, but I did not get it. Which, given it was over $100, and I do live in Southern California, so the weather doesn't really permit for me to wear that, so honestly I understand it. But I loved that collection. They even were photographed wearing onesies, running errands. Which, was this part of the marketing to hype up the collaboration, or was it a natural fit? I'll let you be the judge of that. Now, in addition to the iconic One Piece collaboration, during this time you could also find their faces on clothing in like Macy's. I have a very specific memory of finding One Direction pajamas while going into Macy's to use the bathroom. Their faces were licensed out to so many different companies. It's kind of like when you walk into like a Macy's or Target, for instance, you're gonna find something Mickey Mouse related. And the same goes for One Direction during this time. If you remember, you can find a lot of One Direction themed things at Claire's. Now, Claire's had press-on nails with the members' faces on them. In addition to this, there were dog tags, school supplies, you name it, One Direction was on it. They even had their own toothbrush. And if you were a lucky middle schooler, you would have gone to the iconic 1D World pop-up, which, if you're not familiar with or if you forgot, was a pop-up of all things One Direction. It was basically Disneyland for Directioners if Mickey Mouse was a cute British boy. Ceilings to floor, it was One Direction packed. There were dolls.
Hi guys, I told you they were small.
They are, they look, yeah. He looks like a little sailor.
What if they picked
Mugs, t-shirts. And the 1D World pop-up popped up in major cities such as New York, I believe Los Angeles, and Sydney, Australia, if I'm remembering correctly. Now, I can go on and on about the licensing and everything that One Direction had their face on, such as their signature perfume, which I guess is fashion related, so it makes sense in this video. But another memory of mine that I just have to talk about is their Staples collaboration. They created like back to school notebooks and binders with the members' faces on them. And you bet, you already know that I had a Harry Styles binder that I carried around in 9th grade of high school. Freshman year of high school, I was indeed carrying around a Harry Styles binder. I actually have a One Direction one too, and that one's not touched, so it's like in pretty mint condition. Heck, if I ever get married, maybe I'll use that as my wedding planner. But continuing in the theme of fashion, there was a name that all the cool kids knew. And no, it wasn't One Direction. It was Fresh Tops. Now, looking back, this was a small business, and I can imagine that the owner made serious money. Like, I don't know what I was doing at 12 years old. I should have had a clothing company. Why was I focusing on things like school and homework? Clearly my priorities were out of whack. Now, Fresh Tops was a clothing company that would create items that are similar to what your faves were wearing. Not only this, but if you saw any popular saying like, I don't know, I love pizza more than boys, that wasn't a saying, but there was a whole year about pizza. Basically, whatever pop culture, whatever artist was popular at the time, whatever entertainment or movie was popular, there was going to be a shirt about it. And One Direction was no exception. An example of items that you could see during this time was this hipster please. And now that I say that out loud, I always thought it was hipster please. I don't think that that was it. But that was a very popular shirt that we saw Harry Styles wear. And they replicated it. That's not a word. They replicated it. There was also a Harry Styles tattoo sweater, a Directioner one with an infinity sign, because, well, you guys have Bose and Snoopy and Miffy, we had infinity signs and mustaches. So appreciate what's popular now, okay? I say that as if I also don't like Bose, Snoopy, or Miffy. I mean, take a look at behind me. And Fresh Tops was like a status symbol, okay? You were cool if you owned it. In fact, not to brag, but I actually have a Fresh Top sweater that I begged my parents for. Now, you might assume that it's One Direction themed, which would be a pretty good guess. However, I got an Ed Sheeran sweater. An Ed Sheeran sweater. Now listen, I love Ed Sheeran, okay? I think he creates really beautiful lyrics. However, why did I not get a Harry Styles shirt? Why did I not get a Harry Styles sweater? I think in my mind, I wanted to get something, I wanted to be different, okay? And that's the problem. When you purposely try to be different than other people, you lose sight of what you really want. Now, I briefly mentioned replicas, and it didn't stop at shirts. Okay, there was Harry Styles's, I feel like I'm only using Harry as an example, okay? I promise I'll talk about the other members. Harry had a paper airplane necklace that you could buy on Etsy. It didn't end there, okay? Directioners also dressed up as their favorite member. When you think of One Direction, especially when they were starting out, they were known for specific things. Niall was known for wearing polos. Zayn wore varsity jackets. Louis wore stripes and colored pants. And from a marketing perspective, this is genius because when you're starting out, you need to be known for something. Coco Moco, who's a digital media marketer, and she has a social media presence on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. She has this theory called the hair theory. And to summarize what this is, it's when you become known for something based off of your appearance. Marilyn Monroe had a short blonde bob. When you think of Billie Eilish, you might think of her green roots. Another example of this could be Tara Yumi's signature winged eyeliner. When you're known for something, it can help you in two ways. One, there's another theory called the Halloween costume theory, where you know you made it when someone can dress up as you for Halloween. And what would help with this? Being known for something. You can dress up as Billie Eilish by getting a wig with colored roots. For Marilyn Monroe, you'd probably get a short blonde bob wig and then put on a white dress and add some red lipstick. And for the fashion industry, being known for a specific style, being known for something unlocks so much licensing potential because then you can have dolls dressed up as you. You can have all of these different collaborations, which equals the language that everyone speaks, okay? Money. I don't know if I did that right, but I mean money. Okay, and when you take a look at One Direction, once again, Niall was known for wearing polos. He had more of a clean-cut look, okay? Zayn was labeled the bad boy, so he would look a little bit more cool, a little bit more edgy with the varsity jackets. Harry, how do I want to put this? From a marketing perspective, I definitely think that they dressed him in clothes that resemble like a private school, like a school uniform, okay? He was wearing a lot of blazers. He was wearing a lot of blazers with jeans. I feel like from a marketing perspective, they really tried to push the angle that he's that cute guy that everyone has a crush on at school. And since they had such specific branding, it was really easy to dress like them. The amount of people that I know, including me, that got striped shirts, low-key I look like a sailor. Okay, there was a year that I was dressed like a sailor when I was really just trying to dress like Louis Tomlinson. Okay, I was wearing the stripes. I was wearing the colored pants. I would literally buy any clothes, and by me buying, once again, asking my parents to buy me clothes. I was 12, okay. I would pick out clothing based off of what One Direction was wearing. Not only that, but it extended to their girlfriends, okay? Because in our middle schooler minds, obviously if we dress like their girlfriends, you know, if we looked like them, we would have a chance with our favorite member, because clearly that is how it works. So based off of what Eleanor Calder was wearing, what Perry Edwards, what Danielle, what she was wearing, Directioners would not only dress like their favorites, but their favorites' girlfriends. I really hope that those girls know that they influenced an entire generation. My style, honestly, one of the reasons why I wasn't dressed totally cringeworthy was because I was just trying to dress like them. And obviously they were grown adults, so they had good style. They weren't shopping at Justice. Quite literally, thank you to them. And I know that I'm referencing like the OG One Direction, like the earlier days. However, this extended throughout their career, okay? When Harry had his fedora phase and was wearing Chelsea boots. When Louis, I believe this was like the Midnight Memories era, when he was wearing a lot of denim jean jackets, the fans were wearing those. And we didn't have to come up with this inspiration alone, okay? Well, we all know and love Pinterest. There was another app called Polyvore where you would create outfits, and fandoms got their hands on it and created what are deemed to be now relics. Like, honestly, I believe that there will be, if there's not already, like the history of digital media, like museum. And I vote that images like this are included. If there's a history of One Direction museum as well, I think that these should be in it, okay? These girls were clocking in. They were clocking in. They were letting their imagination run wild. Any scenario you could ever dream of, there was an outfit guide for it. There were outfit guides for how to dress like your favorite member, or what to wear on a very specific date with them. And seeing these images circulate the internet, not only that, but being able to create your own, because there's basically like Pinterest shuffles, if you're familiar, was basically like digital scrapbooking, making digital collages. That, in my opinion, really helped further push the desire to dress like your fave. And now why? Why would fans do this? Personally, I think it's to feel closer to your favorite member. Wearing the clothes that they wear, dressing like them. It's a way of outwardly expressing your love and admiration for them. Because One Direction meant and means a lot, as we have been able to tell due to recent events, which I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really touch on in this video. And in fact, when I made the TikTok video, it was before the passing of Liam. But if we learned anything from this, it's that One Direction still means so much to so many people. And it was a huge part of our childhood. And again, it was a way of expressing ourselves when we were younger, when we had all of this love and admiration that we just didn't know what to do with, aside from spam tweeting them to follow you, which I never got to follow. And I mean, when you think of it, okay, a huge generation of people, okay? We're dressing like One Direction. We're dressing like their girlfriends. And when a lot of people are doing something, what does that create? A trend. So when a large amount of people are all wearing the same things, and we're all taking photos and we're all looking back on the photos now, we're reflecting on a very specific moment in time. Okay, the 80s had poofy hair, not me being a fashion creator and kind of blanking on what the heck the 80s was. Maybe that was a bad example because I'm only thinking of 80s rock. So the 80s had, I don't know, neon leg warmers and leopard print and denim and poofy hair. I mean, when you think of it, Directioners, we were buying a bunch of really specific clothing items. We were fueling the fashion market. And when we think of 2011, 2012, the majority of us might think of these items, might think of striped shirts, might think of colored pants, of blazers, of Toms. And I'm not saying that these things weren't already popular, that people weren't already wearing them, but I definitely think that it fueled it. But let me know what you guys think and what artist you would like me to do a fan to fashion deep dive on next. Personally, I was thinking of 5 Seconds of Summer, so let me know if that's something you would want to watch, and I'll see you guys in another video.